podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to Scarlets Fever, the home of Suspan Central and Westerer is Besterer.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Scarlets Fever podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, is Catboy and special guest, Scarlets Academy head coach, Scott Sneddon. How are we, boys?
Very good, Mark. Looking forward to this one.
Good evening. Yeah, very well. Looking forward to it.
Well, seeing as though time might be short tonight, as Scott's second born is due any second, any day. I'm not going to put that much pressure on him. Let's just kick off right into it. Obviously, you being heavily involved with the under-18s, and then obviously the senior side of things haven't exactly gone that well this season. How sort of enjoyable or difficult has this season been?
I think if I look at it from sort of the academy side of things and the pathway, it's been it's been probably an exciting one. And there's been lots of probably enjoyable times, but also that throws different challenges. From the senior point of view, there's no probably getting away from it being a challenging season. It's probably not through effort, if I'm perfectly honest with you, from what I see and what I witness and what we do every day. But it's been tough. It's definitely a bit of short-term pain, I'd like to think, before hopefully a bit of long-term gain.
Yeah, well, there's obviously quite a few players of note, especially watching the under-18s rag and then watching Wales over the last couple of weeks out in Italy. I think my favourite player has got to be Jack Pritchard. I love everything about him. The first moment he gets after a scrum, he's in the ref's ear, constantly asking for another scrum when there's a free kick or pen. I love it.
He's Pritchard's a talented boy, probably one of the most professional boys that we've got in the pathway in terms of diligent around everything that he does. So his S&C, you won't know a bloke that loves his gym more than Pritch. So loves his S&C, mad about scrums, diligent about his diet and everything else. He lives and breathes rugby, and to be fair to him, lives and breathes Scarlets. So we sat down and had the conversation with him about, did he want to join the senior academy next year? Him and his family were delighted, and we're fortunate that he's one of the guys that's going to join us next year as one of those contracted players. Yeah, exciting.
I'm very happy to see quite a few props in the senior academy over the next year.
There is a few, but look, I think I'll always probably play these boys down. There's a significant challenge from 18s to go into men's rugby. So, from my experience, that first year out of 18s is a big challenge for them, and it's quite a big leap or a big stretch. So, whilst we got some good players at 18s, don't be expecting them to turn up and be ready for the Scarlets next year, because there's some good players in that squad as well.
Well, one player who Lee G won't forgive us if we don't mention is Tian Sparrow. Was very exciting player at under 18s level. Just tell us a bit about him and what for you his outstanding attributes are.
I think I've already said it. You've probably seen the piece with Steph Thomas in terms of, like, he's a bit like Tipperick, so good footballer, knows the game, always kind of almost one step ahead, thinks like a fly half, could play like a 13, unbelievable in the back row. Physically he's come on in the last sort of 12 months, so his ceiling is really high and he loves a challenge. So if anything is put to him, and at times we probably have challenged him this year he
kicked a goal, didn't he, in one game?
Yeah, he did. I did tell him off for that. That was that was a bit disrespectful, and probably learning for those boys under 18s. Him and Carwin got pulled in. I'd say the office. It wasn't the office, but we just had a chat with them post that game, and they didn't even think about how it would be disrespectful. So, a couple of young players that have heaps of potential. But yeah, they still make mistakes.
No, fair enough. We won't. Hopefully, you're not coaching the excitement, enthusiasm out of them too much. Um,
Just respect. You got to make
yeah,
sure stay humble,
yeah,
keep their feet on the ground. But no, there's going back to Tian, like he is an exciting player. Um, you know, there's not many things he can't do on a field, and as a leader, just the way that he spoke, in and around at halftime in some of our games where maybe we weren't performing, he's got the backing of pretty much everybody around him on the pitch. So, that's pretty special for a guy at under 18s to have that respect from his peers.
awesome. So when it comes to the next stage for these boys, then, so we've seen that next year we've got this new EDC coming, which obviously must be a massive part of your thinking and part of your remit. We've seen this year, we track Drovers and Quins very closely on this pod, and we've seen that potentially in some games like the Quins might get a load of Scarlets with them, and then perhaps the next game they don't have so many. So what's the thinking with how we send players to those two clubs, and moving into next year, how will that change potentially?
So look, we meet with Quins and Llandovery at the start of, well, we've already met with them ahead of next season. So it's kind of, we go through the list or the group of boys coming out of 18. So it's not just contracted boys for next year, it's also non-contracted boys. So who do we feel that could make the step up or has got the potential to step up? So even if it's not next year and it's maybe a couple of years down the line, it's just probably exposing them to that higher level of performance that they probably need to understand where they need to get to in future years. So we sit down with the clubs. We obviously look at our succession plan from a senior level down to senior academy, and then we meet with the clubs to see, right, what do they need, and where is best for our players. Sorry, drop a pen. Where's best for our players coming through the pathway. So, like I said, we met with Quins and Llandovery a few weeks ago now, and yeah, the plan is all those players will be placed with either Quins or Llandovery. Some of our boys going into senior academy are looking at the likes of Swansea University and Cardiff Met. So those boys may play a little bit of the EDC alongside hopefully some Buck Super Rugby. So it's very much who's going to be around them. So are they going to be around some experienced players? Do partnerships work well together? Where do we feel potentially the challenge is going to be best or the right challenge for them? It's also looking at succession plan. Where are they going to play? Um, and how many minutes or how many games do they need to play? Because each individual is very different in terms of how much they need to play next year. Because some boys physically need to develop more than others. That's not to say that they'll only play a handful of games, but some of our senior academy boys this year, like Max Page, for example, physically has developed pretty well, but he's played. Not up to date with it after the weekend's game, but he's around 26 games, whereas other guys are, you know, probably only need to play between 15 and 18 games, and that's a good season for them if they physically need to develop.
Cool. And you mentioned about combinations there. So the first one that springs to my mind would be someone like Archie Hughes and Charlie Titcombe. So
Yeah.
we've seen those two play for Quins together. Would it be, in the Scarlets thinking, it wouldn't be one to Drovers, one to Quins. It would be together. We want to see those two play together.
Yeah, like in the Charlie and Archie case, obviously Archie's been through the Queen's pathway, in terms of that's his club. Um, then Charlie, we met with Quins last year off the back of, I guess, me coming in and speaking to the Scarlets, saying that this lad's got potential to be in the senior setup.
I
So
heard you were a champion of his.
yeah, he is a talented player, to be fair to him. So We said would anybody be interested in him. Obviously, Drovers were pretty settled, but Quins were really keen to have him in the pathway if he wasn't involved with Scarlets, and it was a perfect fit then with Archie and him being 9 and 10, and hopefully building a bit of cohesion there should they be called upon, hopefully to play with the seniors.
Awesome.
Okay, so looking at everything as a whole, so how does the first team game plan kind of affect your coaching, through the senior academy to the junior academy, and then again with talent ID?
That's a very good question. I think, we're not going to copy everything the seniors do, around set piece, the way that they play, like, all through, because the reality is we're in a development phase, whereas their performance week after week. So there is sort of an alignment of calls, alignment of sort of language, which aids their progression. Okay, in terms of how we want to play. We want to play a sort of fast game. We talk about a lot around effort and working hard off of the ball. But the big thing for us is around our fundamentals, which we call our steel. So, your fundamentals are your catch pass, your ball carry, your breakdown, your line out fundamentals, your lifts, your jump, your scrum profiling. I guess everything that comes into your tackle, your obvious things around the defensive breakdown. That could be a forever listing. But the fundamentals around the game that you can break up from a skill development point of view. Um, you know, that is aligned to the language and how we coach at the seniors, but there's different bandwidths to what we do and different depths to what we do at different age groups. But I think it was important from Dual Shield and EPP that we have some common language about our sort of work rate and our work off the ball and our scanning, because those are the important things that when you get up to that sort of senior academy and senior level, that you want it to be a given that they've got that when they get there.
That's really good to know. It's quite informative.
Yeah, definitely.
But talking about the new EPP, because obviously they're brand new for this year, and the dual shield squad. So if a player wants to get involved at that stage, how would they go about doing it? Do they have to go through their own coach, or is it different methods
No,
now?
so everybody has an opportunity to sign up. So EPPs in each of the districts, so everybody can just go, either through their hub officers, through the hub leads. There's been, from what I know, because I don't get all the emails, luckily, that something goes out, boys sign up, and they're contacted. So it's literally, if you want to join the pathway and be a part of it, it's open to anyone. Schools, clubs, colleges don't have to be involved in any of those. We want to create more better players. So, that's not a selection policy to go and join one of those.
So what about later on then, after that initial first stage? Is it the same case, say, if you're under 17s or you're finally a youth? Is it the same as just contacting your hub, or is it the different ways to go about
Oh,
it?
so in terms of the pathway, if I'll try and walk and talk you through it. I won't walk 'cause I'm sat down, but I'll try and talk you through it. So, EPP under 15s, that's open to everybody, anybody, as long as you're the right age. And then after the 15s, they go into Dual Shield 16. So, again, that is open. I think it gets a little bit more, I don't want to say serious, but I guess the commitment's a little bit higher than your EPP. So you are training a little bit more, and there's a little bit of strength and athletic development, not strength and conditioning, involved. So I guess naturally the guys that really enjoy it and want to progress will probably stay within those Dual Shield groups, and they'll play for what is a prestigious and historic tournament in terms of Dual Shield, which is, I think, is a great tournament, and we had success in it last year. Off the back of that, they'll get selected, and the selection process for the 16s East and West was was tough last year because of the whole new program in terms of the Jewish Shield running up until Christmas. Um, we went and watched, I think it was 15 out of the 18 games before finals day, and then obviously we were there for all of the finals. Um, we spoke to a lot of teachers, a lot of clubs, and then generally we've got a lot of people like the hub officers or the WRU employees as well as academy staff that will go out and, talent ID. So like actually who are the standout players? We don't we also but we don't rely on the districts to the Jewish Shield teams to nominate their own players. Um, but the reality is um, they nominate quite a lot of players. So we have to do our talent ID ourselves. But as an academy group, we are limited in terms of that talent ID and our staffing. So, we can't be at every game, every training session. It I'd love somebody to be there, and we are looking at plans in place for next year to have some talent ID that's almost in every Dual Shield session or game, so that we can not quality control but almost quality assure and enhance the training sessions alongside um, making sure that we get eyes on it, as many sessions and behaviours off field, on field as we can. So after all that's done, we probably end up with a list of about 150 players for two squads of 30, 35.
So everyone.
Pretty much, yeah. So, what we did this year, which was a good opportunity, but it was difficult to whittle down to two squads. So we got the boys in to train, and they trained against each other as well before having an internal match. So we had 2 weeks training together before we played, which, some people think, oh, well, he only might have had 25 minutes on that day. Well, the reality is that's probably the 10th time we've watched these boys. So it's not a case of that's a trial. It's just to get boys an opportunity if we haven't seen some people, if they've been out injured or something else. So um, next year, I think we will have the talent ID, and the selection process for 16s will be um, mainly through our academy staff, through our guys that are watching training and games, not just Dual Shield, but generally across the clubs and the schools throughout the year.
That's good. In that article that you referenced, you spoke about looking after the boys. What exactly did you mean, and what does that mean for you?
I think it's generally caring for them. So, I'd like to be in a position where, people, when they leave the pathway, because not everybody's going to be, successful. I'd like to say that they are, but the reality is that, that doesn't happen. It's the minimum that actually make it through the pathway. But I'd like them to feel that they've been wanted as part of the pathway. They're actually genuinely cared about, and not just as rugby players, as people. So our coaches and that's from EPP all the way through to senior coaches generally, ask how are these boys and girls, although I don't cover across the girls pathway myself, but we generally ask about these guys. How are they doing? How are their families? Have they had a good day? Is there anything we can do to support? Because from experience, you generally get a lot more buy-in, and you also aren't going to please everybody through that. So I'm not saying that, you know, people will always love us as coaches, because selection is a reason not to enjoy it. But even if they aren't selected, I'd still like to think that we've done our best to try and develop them.
So for those sessions like you referenced where you can't be present, what advice would you give to a community club, maybe an amateur club, of the best way to bring through these junior players? What would you say to them? Focus on this. Don't get distracted by X, Y, Z.
A good question, and I think my personal opinion would be don't get bogged down with game plans, don't get bogged down with structure. I think, get people to understand, firstly, enjoying the game. So what's how are people, what do kids and young men, 14, 15, what do they enjoy about it? They enjoy playing. So there's many parts of our fundamentals that you can get into sort of your development through games. So, if you play a game of winning races, you're looking at getting away from turnovers. So, you can play a game with turnovers around how you present the ball. Um, there's a lot of language or games that you can play where you can have focus on skill development through just right, we're just focusing on the breakdown today. So have a clear objective. Um, don't worry too much about structure. Because the reality is if you build players that work hard but have got good fundamentals, they're probably going to be a better team that's got decent structure.
Yeah, love that, love that. So switching focus now more to the Scarlets as a whole. So we've seen a lot of changes announced recently, a lot of restructuring, a lot of different people, announcers and new people coming in. In your own words, how would you sum up the kind of vision for this that's currently in place at the Scarlets for the future and where the club's looking to go in the next few years?
Look, I think what the club of not the club, I think what the whole world has probably realized is you have to potentially be better at bringing, well, you have to be better at bringing your own players through. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that probably club rugby in the world at the moment it's close to broken in terms of there's not many teams that are making money. Um, and you've got to focus on your own. You've got to bring your own players through. I think I genuinely feel that some of the boys that I've seen in the pathway in the last sort of 18 months since I've been in the role, there's a lot of talented players down west. There's not loads of them in terms of, unfortunately, we're quite sparsely populated in quite a big geographical area. But the quality of player, um, hope this doesn't go to the eyes of the English teams, but the quality of player, I believe, I think they've got good understanding of the game. They've got good core skills, and whether that's down to them just wanting to play in terms of move the ball around. We've probably got to make sure that we harness that. And I think the club, since I've been there, have realised that these guys coming through have got to be how we invest and how we develop, and how we support. So from my point of view, and I think you would have heard me talk about last Tuesday, how we support and enhance our pathway is going to be the best for us moving forward. And that ultimately comes, if I'm honest, with finance and funding. Um, you know, we have to invest in that to grow and give these guys the support that they need to go and really kick on. Because you know, I'd I'd love them if they're all uh, Scarlets players, but we want to push international players. We want them to be the best international players because that's gonna be a great Scarlets team then if we've got the best Welsh international players.
So off the back of that, then obviously we're coming to the end of the season, a very tough season, as we've already said. So these last few games now, three of them are against the bottom four around us. How important do you feel these games are, and do you see any boys? Do you think any boys are going to start getting introduced into these games?
Look, I think there is already an eye on the future. Um, you know, I sit with Dwayne every day. He's fully aware, and the other coaches are fully aware that, the quality of our boys in our senior academy, and the junior academy boys sort of progressing next year. So, there is an eye on next year. So, giving some boys exposure. So I'll leave you with that, but I won't give you too much more.
Oh, I think Josh Morse might end up having a couple of minutes. Oh,
Look, but my thing there is it's got to be about the individual.
yeah.
So I'll always bang on that everybody's journey is unique. So Josh Morse is powerful. Like he's a great scrummager. Um, he's, you know, he's a freak in terms of an athlete. He's a good guy. But he's only played a handful of men's rugby. You don't get me wrong. He's done a great job in an experienced drovers pack. But I also, I thought the Wales 20s managed Sam Scott pretty well through that international window in terms of the exposure he got. Um, and I think it's like what is right for Josh Morse at the moment. Is it a couple of starts for him for Llandovery and go and he can prove to be a real good starter at that level? Or is it, you know, time against the Sharks, full international pack um, in a few weeks' time?
Steel sharpens steel, you know.
So look, I'm not saying that Josh Morse might not get an opportunity, but I'm saying, there's very much a plan around it, and if he goes well next couple of weeks, I'm not saying that he might not, but um, there are a couple of players that are pushing that have gone really well in the Premiership and in the 20s over the last couple of months that you know will hopefully get an opportunity. It's unfortunate that Jack Davis actually picked up an injury. And
Devastated when I saw that. It had to be live on TV as well.
yeah, I know he is on the road to recovery, but he's been knocking on the door for a few weeks, and you talk one of those guys that would have had that opportunity. It wouldn't surprise me if he would have had it by now if he hadn't have got injured that game, and that's no consolation for him. But his growth in the last sort of 18 months has been brilliant. So looking forward to when he gets back fit.
Cool. So, kind of just to wrap up the serious questions then. So, um, most of our games, from Scarlet's point of view, are at home for the rest of the season, or at least in Wales. So, what kind of would your message to the fans be for, as we said, just reasons to get behind the Scarlets for the running?
Look, I think everybody knows it's been a tough year. I think from my point of view, a lot of these boys coming through the pathway in the next few years are homegrown. They're local. They're all playing for their clubs at the moment. They know how important grassroots are. They know how important the club game, the school game, the college game is, and you know, they also love the Scarlets. So what they would love to do is run out in the next few weeks or run out in the next few years in front of a jam-packed, you know, Parker Scarlets, knowing that, everybody's watching their pathway. Everybody's really supportive of them because, we do have a young squad at the moment. And it's going to be young for the next, couple of years. But there's a lot of excitement around these youngsters, and I think if you watch their journey closely and back them, I think in a few years' time we'll all probably be sat in front of a packed Parker Scarlet week after week.
Wouldn't that be something?
Love it.
So that was the easy part of the questions. No thinking to answering these ones.
You're throwing at me now.
Just first name that comes to the top of your head. Whether it's a senior squad, senior academy, junior, 18, 16s, whatever. Okay. Best and worst singers.
Oh. Harry Thomas, best singer.
Yes.
Mark likes him.
Yeah, just old school, isn't he? I'm probably going to speak mainly about the Academy boys because I've heard them sing more than the others. Worst singer, Max Page, just dreadful in terms of just really nervous. He's got better. He's got better, but yeah, he's not very good with words. So I'll go Max Page.
Okay. Who needs a mirror to do a proper workout?
Who needs a proper workout? Archie Hughes.
I can believe that.
Yeah, loves
Doing
tension.
him
Loves wearing
dirty,
a
man.
vest. Loves wearing a vest.
Mini Mike Phillips.
Just wants to be like Gareth Davis.
Okay, who's got the flashiest car?
Flashiest car. Oh, flashiest car. Pretty sure Eddie Dreams has been driving around in a nice motor recently. Yeah, but not from a senior's point of view. Who's got a flashiest car, seniors? Yeah.
Foxy must have a nice car, surely.
No, Foxy's very humble. Golf.
Got to be Scott, isn't it? Scott Williams got to have a flashy car.
Well, he's got a nice range. Yeah.
Nice range. That tells you enough. All right, we'll skip that one. Who spends the most time on the hair?
It's not Phil John. I know Phil will watch this at some point. It's definitely not Tom Phillips in the 18s. Bedhead he is.
Tom Rogers?
Tom Rog, he's trying to keep it on for as long as he can.
Why has he been wearing a scrum cap? Has he dyed his hair? Has he bleached his hair? Is that why?
No, he hasn't.
Oh.
Good question. I don't know that. Trying to think who spends
John Daniels didn't know either. Does anybody know?
Keanu Evans.
Ooh, he's a big boy as well.
Yeah.
May want to watch your back in training now. So, bit more serious one. Who do you think is going to be the first player from this year's 18s to play for the Scarlets?
Who do I think? So I will put context behind this because it's
There's always
very,
context.
yeah, look, I think it's very unlikely that you're going to have a front five forward making that step up from 18s in the next couple of years, if I'm honest. And that's why I
Harry
think
Thomas.
hey, Harry Thomas.
Hey, he's already had a game, man.
Oh, yeah, he has, but he's not in this year's 18s.
No, he's
is he?
not.
I'm just looking at the list now. I could put out there. I'm going to say potentially Ellis Price or Yuri Badham.
Ooh, I think Yori's a good shout. See, he went well on the weekend as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So yeah, look, exciting. Like there's loads. Like we've actually missed one boy out because he wasn't involved in the competitive 18s rag block. But we got there's 11 of them that are contracted for next year, and then there's a further 4 that are under 17s that we've got part of a junior academy group of 25. Those 4 are probably the standouts at the moment, but there's an exciting few boys in that pathway.
I think that's the end of all our really serious questions, or all the hard talk is done now. Thanks, Scott, for coming on. It's been great listening to you, learning so much more about the academy.
It's been fantastic. Thank you.
No, gents, thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought you were going to throw more at me. So
we decided to be nice. We didn't know how much sleep you've had with the missus and everything, so we thought we'd be kind.
not a lot last night, and that's probably going to be a running theme for the next few months, years. So, as you know,
I won't tell you about my experience then.
no, don't tell me you're sleeping all right.
Well, my youngest is 3.5, and it's still a struggle. But the fun part for me was...
Stop there.
Yeah. Scott, I just want to thank you for tonight. It's really nice just to have somebody from Scarlets on board with us. My apologies for missing the vast majority of it, but you can blame Bill Gates and Microsoft for doing an update at the most inopportune time for that. But I just want to say thank you from all of us and from the listeners. It's been great to hear you. So thanks very much. Bye.
Cheers all. Enjoy your evening. All right,
Thank you.
see you soon, hopefully. Cheers.
That was one of probably the most informative chats I've had about the Scarlets in quite a long time. How about you boys?
Yeah, you can tell like the moments that he got most excited during the interviews when he was talking about individual players. So we'd say a name to him, like when I mentioned Archie and Charlie, and you were mentioning other players. He was like, "Oh yeah," and then he starts getting excited talking about them. So that's exactly the kind of person you want in charge of your pathway, isn't it?
Yeah, I especially liked when he was talking about when we said, looking after the boys, and he's talking about looking after the individual, not the rugby player. I mean, that's something that you need, especially at that age range.
And I think, being involved in academy the last couple of years, it's really refreshing to hear somebody talking about that kind of stuff, and not just talking it, but genuinely believe. Sometimes you can tell that somebody's genuinely believing it, and I think he's absolutely 100% committed, and I hope he stays as a key part. The danger is that he gets taken up to senior team. Do you know what I mean? And when somebody's good at doing what he's doing in academy, and he obviously is, I'd just love to keep him there and not necessarily bring him up to senior team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we've already partially lost him with the under-20s because obviously he's went as a defence coach for the Six Nations. He's heading off to South Africa with a Junior World Cup. So fingers crossed that doesn't take up too much of his time and he can focus more of it on the Scarlets.
Well, talking of focusing, let's have a look at the community game, Mark. We must be nearly done now. Some teams are finished. Some teams are done. They've packed the bags and they've gone home.
I can officially tell you that if we look at the fixtures released back on June 10th, my birthday of last year, that all of the league fixtures should be complete by now. But, I mean, there's some leagues like 3 West A, I think, which is a 10-team league. It should have been done back, beginning of March, but it's just not. So as always, we'll start at the top end, and Carmarthen Quins were on TV this past Thursday. They faced a top 4 team in
Charlie Titcom's Carmarthen Quins. Charlie Titcomb featuring Carmarthen Quins.
Okay, so we'll have a quick look at the boys that were involved. We had Sam O'Connor, Lewis Morgan. We had Jack Price, which is a shock. We haven't seen him drop down for a while.
That was a shock. I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, we had Archie Hughes, we had Titcomb, Yesing William all in the starting 15, and Gabriel McDonald in the 23 shirt on the bench. Remember that name for when I come onto the Drovers. So this was a real missed opportunity for the Quins. I mean, the errors at the start of the game kind of impacted them so much. The game ended Ebbw Vale 28, Quins 24, but a few mistakes early on. Ebbw Vale took, I think it was a 12-point lead, and there was just too much of a head start. And I think the level that Ebbw Vale are at, as hard as the Quins tried, it was just too much for them. But this just goes to show that this Carmarthen Quins side can compete and should very well be competing for the playoff spots right now.
You expecting me to talk?
Yes, you
sorry. I was researching Edinburgh. The weather was horrendous. You can't not point out that it was absolutely peeing down. Yes, it was the same for both teams, but I think Ebbw Vale just showed a bit more nous about it. Also, I will say Ebbw Vale contender for the worst kit of the season.
Oh yeah,
it was not good. Purpley pink. I mean, Charlie Titcomb set up an absolute wonder try from his own 22. We posted the clip on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube if anybody wants to see it. Involved twice, broke from his own 22, and then another line break in their 22. The conditions were tough, so a couple of his kicks went awry, I think, were blown by the wind. I think both him and Archie played the full 80.
Yeah, I believe they did. Because I was waiting for him to be subbed off. It's like, they're still on. They're going for the win. They're doing this.
Yeah, it's a great experience for them both. It's just one that got away, I think is fair to describe as that one for the Quins. But, when you're comparing to the 77-7 point against Cardiff last week, it's obviously the difference that those players made. But yeah, the one that surprised me is dropping down was Jack Price, because he has been one of our most selected senior players this season. So,
well, Ben Williams was also meant to be in this 15, but he pulled out, and I've had no rhyme or reason from anyone as to why that has happened. Hopefully it's not a niggle, and we'll maybe see him selected for the Scarlets this week. But is what it is. But what we do know is Carmarthen Quins are more than capable of competing with the top teams in this league, so that bodes well for the EDC next season. The other game obviously involved Llandovery. They took the long trip down to Aberafan, and quite frankly, they made a hash of it. They won out in the end 27-24, but they really struggled in that game. And I'm not too sure quite why. Maybe it's a bit of a cup win hangover because they didn't exactly play the best there. But we had a few boys involved. We had Harry Thomas, Ed Scragg, and Max Page all in the starting 15, with Max Page actually starting at fullback, which I think is the first time he's done that for the seniors team.
It's his better position as well. I've seen him at fullback a couple of times. He's got a boot on him that will send the ball to the moon and back. So he's much better at fullback. So.
Can I just say this? This is probably the first time that Legia has put a stamp of approval on Max Page.
It's a fullback. I like him at fullback. I genuinely do.
Yeah, and on the bench for the Drovers, we had Josh Morse, and wearing the 23 shirt for the second time in 3 days was Gabriel MacDonald. So he played for both the Quins and Llandovery in the space of 3 days, which doesn't make sense. But if young players are getting game time, bugger it, innit? Llandovery got a week off this week. Carmarthen Quins are travelling away to Aberafan, a team they beat quite handsomely not too long ago. Down into Championship West, Llangennick's game against Dunvant was postponed. Rumours are going around that Dunvant do not want to get promoted, so they're refusing to field a team. Again, those are just rumours. We don't know if there's any validity to them, but it's a couple times now that Dunvant haven't raised a team.
Don't want to get promoted?
Yeah, they don't want to go up to the Premiership, apparently. I'm seeing comments everywhere. I've had nothing from the club. Obviously, the club haven't said this. No one official has said this. Yeah. But the comments was like, this is a Championship West level team. If you can't field a team, there's something a bit dodgy going on.
Okay.
I'll be honest, Crymych and Newcastle Emlyn, which are the teams that could go up above them, they're not making it easy for them, honest to God. So our other teams in Championship West, Narberth won 28-10 away to Meister Quins. Newcastle Emlyn put up a hell of a fight, going down 24-37 at home to Brecon. And Crymych, in what should have been a very winnable game, lost 27-24 away to Trebanos. Fixtures for this week, Crymych now travel to Brecon, Llangennick host Ammanford, Narberth at home to Bonham Mine. That's going to be a tasty game to have a watch. And Newcastle Emlyn host Meister Quins. We go down into One West, and Aberystwyth lost 23-26 at home to Kidwelly. Wellinville won 50 points to 17 over Pencloud. Good to see Wellinville putting a few good wins on run. I'm liking that. Clefley Wanderers, fresh off their cup win, go 39-0 away to Ponted Lice. The league isn't quite set yet, but anyone bets against them, and they're a fool. And then Hendy, in what is quite a remarkable result, 54-5 at home to Buryport. I did not see that coming.
To put that into context, Hendy are 2 places below Buryport in the table. So that's a weird one.
It's not even that. Buryport and Kidwelly, and then the top 3. There was those 5 that could have sort of been condensed there for the whole season. And, I think Buryport have taken one too many losses, and I don't know, maybe the driver's gone a little bit. Who knows? Kick on next season. Fixtures for this week, we've got Aberystwyth at home to Ponted Lice, Buryport at home to Pencloud, Wellinville at home to Kidwelly, and Clefley Wanderers travel to Hendy. In One West Central, Brynaman didn't have a game on the weekend, but they do have a game this Wednesday when they travel to Morriston. The last couple of games now for Brynaman, they desperately need to get some wins, otherwise they will be relegated. Over into Two West, and Locha won 36-7 at home to Carmarthen Athletic. Boo.
Boo.
Fishguard won 22-13 away to Milford. Mumbles won 21-16 at home to Croix. Sinclair's won 27-19 at home to Lampeter. As we already know, they're champions, they're going up. But in a surprise result, Pontevedra 17, Tenby 16.
Now,
Now,
that's a shock, that is.
that is a shock on both ends. Pontevedra have improved massively this season, and this has just put them outside of the relegation zone. I think it's based on games lost because they've drawn 2, and that's keeping them just above because they're level on points at the minute. But Tenby, they did pick up the bonus point, and that bonus point has guaranteed them promotion, which is brilliant. It's on a technicality, though. Locher can match them on points, but they can't match them on games won. So they are up. Tenby will have a chance to win a few more points, outright promotion if you're looking at it that way. But yeah, it's a reason to celebrate. Pontevedra are outside of the relegation zone. Yay, I'm happy with that. And Tenby are going up. Happy days. Fixtures for this week, we've got Arm United at home to Croix, Tenby are travelling to Carmarthen Athletic, and Nancaredig at home to Fishguard. Down into 3 West A. In midweek, no matter how hard they try, no matter how many pitches they attempted to go to, Larne's game against Pembroke Dock Quins just would not go ahead. On to Saturday's games, and Aberaeron leapfrog Cardigan to go top of the league, winning 24-7. Larne, this is just a scoreline. I don't like saying it at any level, but 90 points to 8 over Llanybydr. Their charge for the championship and promotion is going strong. Neyland then won 17-8 against Langham. That game was arranged after our pod last week, so sorry for anyone that we didn't get that in. Games for this week, we got Haverfordwest at home to Aberaeron and Larne at home to Langham. 3 West B now, and Trimsaran won 20 points to 15 away to Kevnathan. Didn't see that one come in. Congratulations to Trim on that one. Betos won 22-6 away to Furness. Llandilo 45-3 winners at home to Tregaron. Tumble won 56-12 away to Llandibby, and Llangadog won 40 points to 0 over Binya. Games for this week, Tuesday night, Trimsaran are at home to New Dock Stars. Yeah, Catboy's not listening. Then on to Saturday.
New Dock Stars.
He's on a time delay, mate. Don't worry.
Or you want a time delay?
That game is dead. Okay, on to Saturday, and we've got Betos at home to Tumble, Binya at home to Llangadog, Llandibby are travelling to Furness, Kevnathan head to Tregaron, and Trimsaran for their 3rd game in the space of a week, hosting Llandilo. Last one now, 5 West Central, Pontiates against Cwmgrach was postponed, and Pennybank ran the Division 5 Cup winner, Seven Sisters, really close, 22-13 in Seven Sisters, so be proud of that one. Only game this week for 5 West Central for us is Pennybank against Pontiates, and that wraps up the community game.
And that's it, yeah?
Yeah, that was it. Nice and quick, see? I'd have to time it because I don't think it was, 5 minutes.
Cool, Bennett. Right. Someone wake you up. Right, let's briefly just talk about the supporters meeting last Tuesday up at Park Scarlets, which I've full credit to I thought the sound on the video, I couldn't go on the night because it's too far away for me, but I thought the sound on the video was awful, but you could work out what was said. It was like somebody took a microphone that could have been here and did this all through the night. It was quite iffy, but
so
full respect
Scarlets.
to do what?
That's so Scarlet. Anything to do with anything to do with electricity? I don't understand it.
Well, they did say the boards need replacing. The
sorry, the board needs replacing. A lot of people have been saying.
The boards, the advertising boards,
I see.
Things. The TVs need replacing. The lights need replacing. So there's a big long list, but they started with here's the finance, which is always the boring part of the meeting. But if you understand finance and you go, oh, okay, yeah, we've done the 5 minutes of finance, so the rest of it's going to be shit because there's no money. So I just wanted to say fair play to them for standing up in front of supporters and taking what was thrown at them, because it would have been really easy to duck out of that one and not stand there. But, I think there's a lot of positivity coming. It's going to take a lot to turn around some people in the club, I'll be honest. But, I think what they had to say was good. This is, we're probably 5, 6, 10 years maybe behind where we should be. But at least we've recognised that now and we're moving forward. So, yeah.
So what you're saying is we're right back to when we hired Mudrak. I'm
kind of saying that I think there's a lot of work that I think what people need to remember is it's not just about what we do. We exist in a market where other people are also moving on as well. Where you see the comments about, remember 10 years ago when we did this, remember 5 years ago when we did this. But that's what I mean. We're in a place where everybody else is moving on as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what we do. If we move from point A to point C and we go, hey, yeah, we've done really well because we moved 2 points, but somebody else moves from point B up to point J, we kind of go back comparatively. So, yeah, there's a load of work to be done. They took it on board. There was a time when Leinster weren't where they are now. It took time to build, took time to put themselves. It took a lot of dodgy dealings with the Irish government. I accept that. But, where you've got to start somewhere and go forward. So I think enough with everyone's crap, enough with that message that's going out. I think it just needs to be a bit more realistic about where we are now.
Can we talk about the positive thing from Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Sam Lousy.
Let's do that.
Sam Lousy. Yeah, obviously, multi-year contract is, what the Scarlets Twitter feed has told us. They wouldn't give us any more specific than that.
1.5.
1.5. Ooh. Would that be count as multi-year?
It's more than one.
It's not 2. We could go on like it's forever. No, it's going to be at least 2 years, I would have thought. Maybe a 2+1 deal, something like that. But no, obviously, great to have him signed on for next season. Obviously, lots of rumours going around about Fafita, but he is under contract for next season. So unless someone comes in and buys him out, he's going to be here too. So, we got something positive to look forward to. We still keep our 2 star men in the pack.
There's heavily rumoured that Fafita is being offered around, but we're ignoring those rumours.
Yes, we are. Someone has to come in and buy him out. So
yeah, focus on the positive. The positive is that he'll be here next year to bring on and develop some fresh young
North qualified locks. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Well, that's the disappointing bit, that if we lose Alex Craig because he's non-Welsh qualified, that's going to be an absolute kick in the nuts. Like, we can only keep one of them, apparently.
Well, it's to do with who we're signing. There's a lot of things with the WRU about having X amount of NWQ players in the same spot, which doesn't make sense when we're apparently in the market for 2 non-Welsh qualified locks. Why would we go for 2 players who are not guaranteed to be as good, or at least, comparable to Alex Craig when we've already got him here? I honestly hope to God that, Craig and Lousy is a good partnership, even with Morgan Jones or Jack Price as the option off the bench. That's a good stable of 4 locks. Obviously, you need more. But, if that was our best 4 going next season, it could be better. But, I'd be happy with that, especially knowing, how good Craig actually is now. And, Lousy will probably be a lot fitter. I'm hoping. I'm going to cross my fingers and say he's going to be available for a few more games next season.
I think Alex Craig is wanted back up north, though, isn't he? He should be wanted back home. Yeah, I think that's a motivator behind that. If he goes, you haven't had it confirmed yet.
If they wanted him, they should have had him last season.
Yeah,
simple as.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, let's talk this weekend. So we have got a nice little trip up north to Edinburgh. Thoughts?
Oh, I don't know what to think. If we go to our game against them in the Challenge Cup at home, it wasn't a big loss, 31-19. But at the same time, that was at home. So
We did score 2 tries in like the last 2 minutes.
yeah. So, there's a lot to unpack. But I mean, if we look at our last league game against them, I'll happily talk about that.
That was good.
But based off this season, I'd like to think we can go up to an Edinburgh and do something. And I know we've got a squad that can do it. Edinburgh on a bit of a downturn in form themselves. They haven't exactly covered themselves in glory in the last couple of weeks.
They're very mid. I spoke to Leslie, who's an Edinburgh fan, about this. We beat teams that were better than, and we lose to teams that were worse than. Like, they're just kind of there. Their season is really coming to a bit of a fizzle out kind of a thing. In terms of their outstanding attributes, I'm just having a look at the URC stats. Their attack is 11th. Their defense is 3rd, but it's not clear how that's arrived at. I personally don't believe there's any such thing as...
I think that's number of tackles.
But I don't think there's any such thing as defensive stats other than how many points you conceded, how many tries you conceded, and that's not included in the URC stats for defense, is how many tries you conceded.
I'd put line breaks in here too. I wouldn't mind seeing
Yeah, okay. That's not on there either. 12th for turnovers lost, so they don't make that many mistakes.
So play sevens.
Yeah. No, 12th is in fewest, I think. So basically, they've made the 5th fewest turnovers lost. So they don't lose the ball very much. 15th for discipline. Don't ask me who's 16th.
I won't.
Best line out in the league. And they've got Ben Healy. And Ben Healy is pretty much their entire game. Like, he kicks the absolute leather off it. He hoofs it for miles. He's got, I think, the most penalties scored in the URC. If Edinburgh do anything, it's going to be through Ben Healy, basically.
Okay, so basically, take Healy out as soon as we can, and we should be all right.
But genuinely, that could possibly be our best plan.
That's bad. Christ.
Edinburgh are quite predictable, and their fans are pretty disillusioned with how they're playing. Mind you, I said I thought we were going to beat them in the Challenge Cup, and look what happened. So,
apples and oranges, man. No, depending on the team we put out. I mean, we've got Tane Plumtree to come back in. I know he's still a relative new boy, but Jar Taylor's only had 40 minutes for us. We've got him to come back in, so I think we can put out a good enough squad to beat Edinburgh.
I think it's front row, though, isn't it? I think that's where it's the battle of who can screw it up the least in the front rows, because none of us are particularly dominant in the pack, and if one of us can get the upper hand, then the other one will crumble. That's pretty much how it goes with Edinburgh at the minute. I don't know who we're going to put out in front row. Would you put your hat on any of our? Would you say this is going to be our front row this week, and be confident of them actually being in the 23 on the pitch?
No, I mean, I'd like to think that we'd have some continuity, but we've been asking for that all season and we haven't had it. What was it? Wainwright, Elias, and Wyn Jones started the last game against another Scottish team, but yeah, I think I could say I'm fairly confident that they'd start with that again. It seems as though we're developing. Oh, I mean, a bit late for it. It seems that we're developing a good combinations when it comes to the front row. Wainwright, Elias, Wyn Jones, and then Harry O'Connor, Sean Evans, and Matthias. We seem to be developing that, and that can translate to next season. We know that Matthias and Harry O'Connor are both staying. We know Wainwright is still here. We know Elias is still here, I should say, as well. It's just whether or not the others will stick around.
So, do you want to make a prediction then? Do you want to do predictions for Edinburgh?
Yeah, why not? You know what? I reckon we're going to go our last 5 games unbeaten. Bugger it. we're gonna turn it around. We're gonna finish on 8 league wins, and everyone will think, "Oh, it wasn't such a bad season after all." But yeah, no, I reckon we can do Edinburgh. It'll be tight. It'll be like how you said, it'll be like who can screw up the least, you know. But I'll go for 26-21 Scarlets. Go on.
Okay. Hugh?
I'll go 18 points to 17 to the Scarlets.
Scarlets by 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good call. Well, I've just predicted that Edinburgh will win by 5. So,
Dick.
No, I think half the problem with this season is you never really know what's going to turn up. You know, we turned over Benetton, who are top 6 and quite comfortably pushing upwards up the table. You know, they're looking above them for where they're going and not trying to stop people below them. And our run in between now and the end of the season, we play Sharks, Dragons, and Zebra. You know, the 3 teams around us. So we beat those 3, and all of a sudden that's 6 wins in the season, and that's not that bad a game. That's just under
same as last season.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. If I'm looking at the last 5 games, I think Sharks is probably the most difficult. The way they've turned up now these last few weeks.
And when does that game happen in relation to their semi-final?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I just bloody deleted all that. The semi-final, I think, is the week after our game.
Yeah.
So they will probably bring their Springboks then, because they don't want to ship them up and down in 2 weeks, do they? They bring them up and
yeah, but
game in Durban.
We're not playing them in Durban. We're playing them here.
Yeah, I know. Is they a game in Durban?
No, it's in Twickenham.
They'd probably bring everyone then and stay up for the week.
Yeah, but I can't see them focusing on us. I can see them putting a lot of second string out for that game to keep players. It depends. It depends.
I don't know. I reckon they'd probably bring a 30-man squad for both games.
Just bring all of South Africa. So anyway, my prediction, is 20 points to 15 for Edinburgh. You're
banned. You are officially banned from this podcast.
Yeah, I think all we need to take out of it is we need to start picking up bonus points, and whether that's 4 tries or losing bonus point, I don't care, or both. You know, we need to start coming out of games with points, and because what I don't want to do is to go into Judgment Day against the Dragons, needing to beat the Dragons to not come bottom of the table.
Oh Christ!
Because that would just be horrific.
Well,
and I hate it.
We do have Zebra a couple of weeks before, so surely, if we can beat Benetton, we can beat Zebra.
Do you remember our game against Zebra last season at home?
Oh,
it was a game of who's the shittest, and we lost because Zebra were shitter than us. It was one of the worst games you've ever seen.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. I mean, it was a comfortable win in the end, but
I remember Foxy did a grubber in it, and we had a red card as well, I think, but we still won.
But
yeah, that was the Dragons game.
But we've got the players there to win. We just need to get all of them on the pitch running in the same direction at the same time. If we can do that, I think we'll be okay. But can I see enough players being fit and informed between now and the end of the season? Who knows?
Well, let's have a look at it. So we got 2 games, week off, 2 games, week off. I mean, there's no need for rotation in this. We can say, here's our 23. As long as none of you get injured, that's it for the season. We're not changing.
Not going to happen, but there we go.
Can always pretend and wish.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else that you boys want to go through?
Do you want to talk about Wales women at all?
I don't think anyone wants to talk about that.
No. We're well over time. So, right. You get 1 dad joke each, and then we're done.
What about these?
Yeah. Mark, you call 2
No.
sub.
Fuck
Come
off.
on, man. Come
Now,
right, okay. What's the difference between a poorly dressed man on a unicycle and a well-dressed man on a bicycle?
he likes this one.
It's a tire.
That's not bad. I like that.
That's poor. You,
Stop.
it's like 3 cards in, man. What do you call a well-balanced racehorse? Stable.
I do like that.
Oh, God.
We had 2 good ones this week. I like it.
They're not meant to be good. They're meant to be dad jokes. Right, gents, thank you very much for your time this week. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to Scott and to the Scarlets for coming on. More of that we need. Many, many more. So we'll see you all again next week. We'll do it all again, and hopefully my laptop will work a lot better next week.
And you can join us from the start instead of hiding in the shadows. He was very adept at doing that, mate. It's like he's practiced.
Right, I'll see you next week, gents. All the best.
And drop eyes.
Thank you for listening to the Scarlets Fever podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps us spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.